This is one of Fresno's greenest buildings. A lot of thought and effort has been put into this building as far as energy efficiency and green building features. I think you'll be really impressed with some of the things that have been done. My name is Edward Cornejo. I'm with a company called PTL Exam Prep. We do training and consulting. I'm a lead AP for new construction, a lead AP for building operations and maintenance, and I have experience on several green building projects, and I have over 18 years of green building energy efficiency and project management. So really, my background is construction management. So we do, like I mentioned, online training, we do live training, we have a bunch of training materials that we offer, and we do consultation. Like with this building, we consulted on this building and several other buildings in Fresno and around the state. So of course this building is a LEED building, or it will be a LEED certified building shortly. We're going through the process as we speak. And it'll be a LEED Platinum building. That's our hope, our desire, if everything goes right through the review process. We'll prepare a lot of documentation, a lot of exhibits and submittal stuff, and we'll submit it to the U.S. Green Building Council, which owns the trademark LEED. LEED, of course, stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. It's a rating system used to certify the greenest buildings in the world. It's a very comprehensive rating system and a very well thought out system for certifying green buildings. I always like to start off my tours and my presentations or information by talking about why go green. Why is Lance Cashin going green? Why should you implement green strategies into your next project once you graduate or when you're interning? Why is it important? One reason is carbon dioxide and reducing carbon dioxide emissions. And I'm pretty sure that most of you know all about this, unless you've been living on Mars, that carbon dioxide is a problem and results in greenhouse effect and global warming. So because the power that we consume in buildings is coming from some type of fossil fuel burning power plant, natural gas, the energy that we're consuming in these buildings is creating these CO2 emissions. So, and buildings are the #1 emitter of CO2 emissions, second only to transportation. Now in states like New York and California, transportation and buildings are neck and neck as far as their emitting CO2 emissions. But for the rest of the United States, its buildings is the biggest culprit for CO2 emissions. And of course, they don't only create CO2 emissions, they consume a lot of water. And they also generate a lot of waste, a lot of solid and liquid waste, and they consume a bunch of electricity. When we build green, or when we choose to build a green building, we look at several different things, especially for the LEED certification, or a true green building looks at several different things. The site location and appropriate planning and implementing certain strategies into the site. The water management. In case you didn't know this, water efficiency is not only preserving that precious resource of water, but it's also reducing energy, because it takes a lot of energy to get that water to that faucet through the wastewater treatment plants, through the pumping systems the cities or counties have, heating to get rid of bacteria. A lot of chemicals have to be used, so it's very energy intensive getting water potable. So anytime we can manage our water, reduce our water indoors or outdoors, it's extremely advantageous. Energy, of course, the biggest impact, or the biggest way we can lessen our impact, is reducing our energy usage through different strategies that we'll talk about today. Material use and selection is another good way to reduce our impact. Avoiding those materials from Asia and selecting materials locally, regionally, can not only be good for the local economy, but also can be less impactful, less transportation impacts. And then lastly, indoor environmental quality. We spend about 90% of our time indoors. And it's a sad statistic. Whether you're at home, whether you're at school, whether you're at work, 90% of our time is spent indoors. So reducing that indoor environmental impact, having good indoor air quality, good thermal comfort, exposure to daylight, and good air exchanges is all very important. Low exposure to different toxic chemicals is really important. So those are all things that we consider when we're doing a green building. Because we want to lessen that impact that we're having, we want to reduce this waste stream that's created as a result of construction, remodeling, renovation, or ground-up construction. We want to reduce the impact of these materials coming from long distances, creating greenhouse gas and transportation emissions and stuff like that. We can make different choices by reduce those different problems. So some of the benefits of going and building a green building include better indoor air quality, because you're looking at air exchanges and better ventilation rates. You're looking at better thermal comfort. You have better occupant performance, right? Studies have suggested or shown that students and workers that have good air, good thermal comfort, low exposure to toxic chemicals in the air from janitorial maintenance activities, they have higher performance. They get more done and enhance interactions of systems, a green building benefit. And the other important statistic, like for instance this building, one of the biggest costs in this building, or the biggest cost in this building I should say, is the workers' salaries. It's not the electricity bill, it's not the tenant, rent or lease payment. It's the salaries that all these people are making in this building is the biggest expense. So doesn't it make sense that we have good indoor air quality, we have low exposure to toxic chemicals, we have low sound levels so people can be productive because they're not interrupted or disturbed by high decibels from whatever activities that might be taking place, and they have control, or they feel like they have control of their environment. I noticed that there's a door open over there, there's some windows open throughout the building. People are controlling their indoor environment, and they feel much more content. It's when you can't control the heat in the building, or you can't turn on the AC, you can't control your thermal comfort in an area, you seem to be less patient and less productive because it's simply frustrating. There's also a cost savings by going green. Energy efficiency, of course, water efficiency, reducing your waste stream can all result in an operational cost savings. Durability of facilities. Like a green roof, for instance, with the membranes and stuff they put on the roofs, they actually can last 2 to 3 times longer than a conventional roof. Savings in construction cost, green products are coming down. So that misnomer that a green building is going to be more expensive is not entirely true. There is very competitive products that are green, less impactful, and you should seriously consider those. Reduced environmental impacts, obviously, if you implement these strategies we're going to talk about today, you do and will have a reduced environmental impact. So green building is best practices. These practices have been around for a long time. The U.S. Green Building Council did not just make them up or invent them. They've been tried, tested strategies that have been around, and the USGBC simply adopted them as good practices and included them in their rating systems. And green building also involves a holistic approach, an integrated approach, working with other team members, talking about different strategies, whether or not they're cost effective, cost prohibitive, whether or not they have a return on investment, whether or not they have a long-term benefit, or their life cycle analysis are all things that are considered in that holistic integrated approach. Integrative design approach is a common term used in green building. It means involving the team members like your architects, your engineers, your commissioning authorities, staff, building users, all in the process of implementing these strategies that we'll talk about today. And some people choose the green building, or some property managers choose the green building strategy or LEED certification to help attract tenants. A lot of pressure on corporate America to go green. What's the easiest thing for them to do? Move into a green LEED certified building. So not the strategy that this developer chose for this building. They truly wanted to lessen their impact and reduce their overall carbon footprint throughout their portfolios is the goal that Lance Cash and company is having. I pulled this out of the Sacramento Bee recently, that property managers are seeking the LEED certification to help attract tenants. Because state and federal entities, they have to have and build LEED for new construction certified buildings, or they can only occupy LEED certified buildings per executive order signed by President Obama several years ago. So that's why there's a big push for state and federal projects. They have to be LEED certified. So I caught this last night off the internet. These are all the LEED certified projects in Fresno. 6 out of the 12 are federal or state projects, or county or city projects, and the other 6 projects are private development, and Lance Cashin's there for an E-bomb project that's across town over off by Woodward Park. They have the highest lead E-bomb project in the city of Fresno. This building will hopefully achieve platinum, so it'll be the highest lead for new construction and major renovation project. There's different rating systems for different types of uses. There's rating systems for schools, for a core and shell where you're not going to do the tenant improvements. There's rating systems for just a commercial interior space within a building, lead for homes, lots of different rating systems based on a need or a use that you have. So here we are at 677 Palmdon Drive, and we are currently tracking about 85 points, and you have a little scorecard there in front of you that shows where the points are being achieved, and each one of those points, or where you're getting points, is a lead strategy and a set of requirements that have to be met, including applications and exhibits that have to be submitted. You can see we're getting 23 points out of 25 in our sustainable sites category. In water efficiency, we're getting 6 points in water efficiency. Energy atmosphere, we're pursuing 31 points out of 35. In innovation, we're tracking 5 points out of 6. And regional priorities, we're tracking 4 points out of 4. So those are some of the points and things we're doing. We're going to talk about in just a second some of the strategies we pursued and how we went about pursuing them. So here's the LEED certification levels, right? There's a certified building, which means you've achieved over 40 points to 49 points. There's a LEED silver, which is 50 to 59 points. So Obama said that all federal projects have to be LEED silver or higher to help the nation reach their greenhouse gas emission reduction goals. That's what it's all about, to reduce those greenhouse gas emissions, carbon dioxide and other gases that create greenhouse gases. So Obama signed into executive order that every federal building has to be LEED silver or higher, including all branches of the military. And then what the state of California did when Governor Schwarzenegger was in office, he adopted the same mandate, that state buildings had to be LEED silver or higher. And that's still in place. And then we took it a step further in California for private development. We adopted Cal Green Building Code, which if you look at Cal Green Building Code or Title 24, Part 11, it's very synergistic or very similar to the rating system that you're learning about today and what's in these reference guides sitting on the desk. Gold is 60 to 79 points, platinum is 80 plus, so we're shooting for 85 points. There's 100 total possible points. There's 10 bonus points in the innovation category and regional priority category. And for all of our hard work, get a warm, fuzzy feeling, we get a plaque, and we get the nice glass LEED plaque there as well. So again, here's our checklist that we're using and we're tracking and we're looking at. We went through this. We got that whole integrated design approach. We invited all the team members. We talked about the strategies we want to pursue, and we started identifying points where we thought were feasible to achieve. So there's cost involved with LEED certification too. So some of the costs involved with LEED certification is you have to register a project, and it costs $900 to $1,200 depending if you're a member or non-member of the U.S. Green Building Council. There's certification fees. So if you're a 50,000 square feet building or smaller, you'll pay somewhere between $2,500 to $3,000. If you're over 50,000 square foot, it goes to a 4 cents per square foot equation or 4.5 cents per square foot equation if you're a non-member. And then if you're over 500,000 square feet, you pay a lump sum fee again. So this building is 42,500 square feet. And so we're paying about $3,000 in fees, plus the registration, so about $3,900, $4,000, give or take a couple hundred. So this is our version of the scorecard that we used. You can see on here that we're tracking all the credits. We're also tracking cost. We've quantified every strategy you see on your checklist, and we equated it with a cost. And we also included the registration certification costs, because those are important. We included hard cost and we included soft cost. Soft cost to have a landscape architect calculate the water efficient landscaping credit, or a cost to have a civil engineer calculate our stormwater quality and quantity control credits, figure out how much pollution or total dissolved solids we have going into the storm drain, or to have an energy efficiency engineer or an energy engineer do our commissioning or to do our energy model. This building had to be modeled using Energy Pro, and we had to factor in all these different things that were implemented, and we had to create optimization over a baseline calculation to achieve points. So we've quantified all those costs here in our worksheet. So we're somewhere around $70,000 for the LEED certification, additional cost. But a lot of things were already planned and intended to do, so you could technically say that there is a little bit more cost, but somewhere around $70,000 in this building to achieve the LEED certification. Some of the ways we achieve credits were, on your scorecard, but we'll also look to exemplary performance, which when you greatly exceed a requirement on that scorecard, you can achieve exemplary performance. Also innovation. You walk past a kiosk on your way in, it kind of educates you on some of the green or sustainable features of the building. That's innovation in design. When we can educate people, tenants, visitors, when they come in about the sustainable features or things that were done, that's considered innovation. Fly ash in the concrete mix not only strengthens the concrete, but it gets rid of a byproduct of burning coal, and that's considered innovative. Of course, we have a LEED AP, which also gets you an innovation point, and we achieved a lot of points in the energy efficiency category. And that's where the maximum amount of points can be accumulated. And of course, we achieved a lot of energy efficiency through the different features that we'll talk about when we do the tour of this building. The intent here is to avoid development on inappropriate sites and reduce your environmental impact from location of a building on a site. So how do we do that? We avoid prime farm ag land. We avoid previously undeveloped land or land in a flood zone. We avoid land that has sensitive species or habitat, and we avoid public park land, and we also want to avoid prime farm ag land. So this site didn't have any of those things associated with it. So it was a good selective site to use for a LEED project, and it also got us 1 point for avoiding those different types of impacts. So here's our site located 677 Palmdon Drive, and you can see that there's a storm drain basin located next door. We're close proximity to many different services and restaurants and amenities. We have, you can see little bike paths nearby that people can ride their bikes to work, public transportation, different locations for pickup and drop off by the bus system, and that way people can avoid using their cars to get to and from this location, and people can get out and walk to restaurants and Starbucks to get their hair done, their nails done, whatever, avoiding that impact that cars have on the roadways. And we can avoid the impact that our water leaving the site has too. It goes into the Fresno Flood Control District's regional basin right there, where they capture, retain, and they allow to percolate back into the aquifer, the storm drain runoff, and they capture a high percentage of the total dissolved solids and other particulate matter with some of these strategies. We also capture some of the runoff from our site through our landscape features and reduce that particulates that go down the storm drain. One of the biggest polluters to waters of the US, in case you didn't know it, was storm drain runoff. And we're considered a non-point source discharge because the water just runs off into the sidewalks, to the parking lots, and it washes away all that grease, coolant, coffee, whatever's on the concrete or the pavement, and it just flows away into a storm drain, polluting our waters of the US, eventually making out to the ocean. So whatever we can do to minimize that impact is very important. Anybody notice anything different about the 677 Palmdon Drive versus some of the surrounding sites? Notice the color of the parking lot versus the other parking lots? It reflects the sunlight and reduces what? Heat island effect, which is what? What is heat island effect? Things like asphalt or dark colored surfaces, dark colored roof, they maintain or they capture the solar infrared radiation from the sun in their thermal mass, and they release it slowly over time. And asphalt doesn't have any solar reflectance. And dark surfaces like dark roofs don't have any solar reflectance, so they capture and retain that infrared radiation in the thermal mass, slowly dissipate it, so at 10 o'clock on a hot summer day, 10 o'clock at night on a hot summer day, you go to this Walmart parking lot, it's still pretty warm out there. But you go to this parking lot and it's nice and cool. There's no heat island effect here. And heat island effect not only causes an increase in HVAC or cooling needs, which is a big energy consumer, but it's real uncomfortable to humans, wildlife. So that's another problem associated with heat island effect. So by installing concrete, a high bright white concrete with a high solar reflectiveness in our parking lot, it was a little bit more expensive, but it helped reduce our energy loads and it helped with the heat island effect. Another credit that we pursued is the development density community connectivity. This was worth 5 points. You know, like I said, I don't have time to go through every single one of these credits that we pursued, but my intent is to give you a better overall understanding of what strategies we pursued, and you can see how many points each strategy is worth. But in this particular case, we want to avoid those greenfield sites on the outskirts of town. They're the easiest ones to develop typically, but they have the biggest impact. They have the biggest impact in transportation, biggest impact in affecting an ecosystem, because here you have a nice vegetated area with bugs and bunnies and trees and stuff, and then you just, when you develop, you bring in the bulldozers, you start stripping and exposing soil, which creates air pollution, water pollution. You've now taken this self-preserving area and you've exposed it, and now when it rains like today and there's no grass or vegetation to keep the soil intact, that soil just gets washed away, eroded away, and goes into waters of the US. It's not that dirt is a toxic chemical. It's not. Dirt is just, it deoxygenates the water, and so the fish and the aquatic life cannot breathe. And that's why stormwater runoff is one of the major polluters of waters of the US. So our site, in order to achieve these 5 points, had to be within a half a mile of a residential zone that had 10 units or more. So you go up in an aerial and you look around for some condos, some townhomes, some apartments, and we were able to find those within a half-mile radius. The idea is people can live nearby and walk to work. That's the idea behind that strategy, which is good. You don't have to get in your car and leave, and leads really into this whole live, work, play, you know, in one area. So you don't have to constantly impact the roadways and the environment every time you want to go to the grocery store, or every time you want to go for a hike, or every time you go to school or go to work or go to the soccer field, you're impacting the environment. So live, work, play all in the same area without having to use transportation, or at least cars that create impacts. So the other thing we had to do is we had to find 10 basic services within a half-mile radius. So that was easy to do. We have grocery stores, we have restaurants, we have hair salons, we have some associations nearby. So we were able to identify 10 basic services. The idea behind that, again, is like if you have 10 basic services nearby, you're more likely to walk to those services and not have to get in a car and impact the environment. Some of the other strategies we implemented on the site are solar photovoltaic energy. We have, you know, that carport looking thing as you came in, that's covered in PV panels, and it creates about 35,000 kilowatts of energy per year. Enough to power all of our common areas, all of the lobby lights, the hallway lights, the bathroom lights, the parking lots, and even a little bit more. And where we do have an impact, we were able to mitigate that impact through our conventional energy use that we, you know, pull power off the grid from PG&E. And we bought green power from a company called Carbon Solutions Group. So we were able to create carbon neutral building, at least for 2 or 3 years till we renew the contract for the impact that we're having. Does everybody understand green power and renewable energy certificates and the idea behind them? It's really a way to lessen your impact that you're having as a company if you can't do it, or as an entity. If you can't do it on site, you're able to also reduce that impact by purchasing these renewable energy certificates, or proof that a unit of energy was created from a renewable power supply. And it's a subsidy that goes out to these renewable energy suppliers so they can maintain these systems, so they can build new systems, so they can transmit this renewable energy to people that need it. Doesn't mean that they flicked a switch in Idaho where this wind power supply was and diverted the green power to 677 Palmdon Drive. It's not how it works. But it does mean that we've made this conscientious effort to reduce our impact and help mitigate the effect that consuming electricity from the grid is having. Because again, most of that energy is coming from a fossil fuel burning type of power supply. California, we have a higher percentage of renewable energy that transmits through our grid or network that we pull energy off of, but for the most part, it's a fossil fuel burning type of power. So the other thing we did here is we implemented some indoor environmental quality strategies. We have these chemicals that are Green Seal certified, meaning they have low VOCs, and if you're not familiar with the term VOCs, it stands for volatile organic compounds, which cause smog, which cause breathing difficulties, asthma, just not very pleasant to smell and be exposed to. So our chemicals that we utilize for housekeeping and maintenance do utilize low VOC standards and requirements. Some of our cleaning equipment has low dBs, meaning it has low sound levels. Also has filtration on it to not, suck something up and re-emit it into the air as an airborne particulate, and now everybody else is inhaling it. That's not good. Particulates known as PM10, we try to reduce those in our atmosphere through MER filtration in our air vents, and through maintenance equipment we try to reduce that particulate matter. And then also the paints and sealants coatings that were installed in this building also are a low VOC content as well, reducing exposure. That's why this building doesn't really have that new building smell that most new buildings has, because of that's typically VOCs or formaldehydes and stuff that we don't want to be exposed to. We have pretty good thermal comfort here. You can walk over to that window and open it up if you wanted to. That's thermal comfort, that's controllability of systems. There's a thermostat right on the wall outside this door that you could walk up to and turn the temperature up or down. That makes a big difference, and that's important. We have light sensors throughout the building, so when the lights sense enough light, this is a showroom, of course, so it's a little unique. They want all the lights and bells and whistles on for you to see and feel and experience, so you'll know how they work. But the rest of the building has sensors that sense the daylight and will dim the lights accordingly or turn them up accordingly depending on the light levels. We have an indoor air quality management plan every time we do a tenant improvement, every time we go about a construction activity. We have this set of criteria and requirements for the contractors to protect restorative material like drywall or insulation. Right now, if we were doing a tenant improvement and drywall showed up, it would immediately be covered with plastic or visqueen, because we all know the effect that drywall that gets moisture or water on it has. You have mold, moisture problems. And the same thing with insulation. We protect those materials before they're installed. And we use HEPA vacs when we're working to clean up the debris. We have runners and we have isolation through curtains and stuff. We put MER filters, we cover ducting to avoid oversprays of materials and paints and stuff. Again, so when the tenants move in, they're not exposed to stuff that comes out of the HVAC as soon as it's turned on. They're not exposed to VOCs, they're not exposed to toxic materials. So we talked about the educational kiosk. It's an important tool that we use to achieve innovation and educate people. We also achieved innovation, or exemplary performance, I should say, under the innovation category for our water efficient fixtures, because they use low flow. We save about 180,000 gallons per year by implementing these low flow fixtures throughout the buildings, including the kitchens and aerators. Daylight, there's daylight in 95% of the spaces here, so that's also considered exemplary performance, through the use of skylights, through the use of the windows around the perimeter of the building. When we certify buildings, we use this platform. It's called Lead Online. It's a tool that has templates and requirements and all the stuff that's in this reference guide that you use to follow and implement. So we're going to tour the Tangram space, and I'll let Kelly or one of her associates talk about the Tangram space and all the stuff here, which is a really unique and I think great space. And then we'll go to the rest of the building and take a look at some of the features there. Can you talk about the virtual receptionist here?
Sure. Carol is our virtual receptionist. She answers doors and greets people for 3 of our different offices. She's physically located in Santa Fe Springs. which is our headquarters, and she answers for our Newport Beach office and for this office. So when the concept is that when you come in, she greets you, and then she uses our paging system to let us know that you're here. One thing that's a green product that we provide are these movable walls. So this is a wall that Steelcase sells. So instead of somebody coming in here and building these as stick frame construction, we can put these walls in. If down the road we want to completely reconfigure the space, they come down surprisingly easy and can be reused in another location, in another place within here. So you're not having all of the materials from the construction going to landfills and all that kind of thing. And
they have a high percentage of recycled content built into them as well, is what I read recently on your spec sheets on these movable walls.
Another component of the interconnected workplace is that we are trying to maximize the use of real estate. So you'll see we do have a private office here shown, because that's kind of the traditional thing that people are looking for. But the private office is designed so that it's really highly layered in its function. So instead of having, you know, the big credenza in the back and the separate desk and all of this, we go to a layering effect that allows for us to maximize storage in a smaller footprint. And then as we get throughout the space, I can show you how we also maximize our real estate by promoting collaboration. And so as you look around our space, you'll see that we have very few walls. The whole concept of the interconnected workplace is that the walls are coming down. You can sit in this desk and have an office with a window. You can see out. It promotes health and wellness, which is another facet that we're trying to promote in the workplace, and allows us to minimize the use of the real estate being the amount of square footage in an office.
And also with LEED certification, in order to get points, we have to have views to the outside for 75% of the space. You have to have views to the outside, and it can't be like a view out the skylight. It has to be a view out a physical window for 75% of the spaces. So that's also an important feature of keeping the cubicle walls down low. And I noticed that you have, you know, these high efficiency lighting up here, and I see the sound masking device. Can you speak to those at all?
The sound masking is a product that we sell with the increased efficiencies in air conditioning units and things like that. What used to be kind of an automatic white noise has now been removed from the workspace.
I noticed your HVAC ducting too in the space. It's best to keep HVAC ducting in a conditioned space and not outside of a conditioned space, because that creates inefficiencies and the need for the system to work harder, especially if it was up on the roof, you know, on a 110-degree day here in Fresno that we typically see. Having that outside of the conditioned space is problematic and inefficient. And I know these are T5 fluorescent lights up here, which are pretty much the most efficient fluorescents that you can get on the market right now. And of course we have some LED spotlighting. Those are extremely efficient, low wattage, and in a game of watts where we're trying to keep them really low for our efficiency scores and costs. That's great.
And everything is set on automatic timers as well. So you know, if you know, when I'm working here at 7 o'clock at night, all of a sudden the lights will go down. You know, everything is controlled to try to make sure that we're not wasting electricity.
This is a privacy cubicle, right? I thought that was kind of an interesting little feature there. If you do want to have a conversation, you can just go into the pod there, right?
Right. This is something that we're actually talking about using in universities. This is a great product. This is called Mediascape. And I said earlier that we have 5 different offices, and so in order to reduce our travel costs, our hotel costs, and improve efficiencies within the company, we use this, and we also sell this. You can plug a computer into it, And so on one screen I can be working on a project and show on the screen all the people that I'm sitting with, as well as people in a remote location what I'm working on. And on the other screen, the team on the other side can show, and we can communicate and talk and have a meeting. And Steelcase has offices, across the world, and so we can meet with people in LA. We can meet with people in, Taiwan. This is a great station because it shows a couple of different different things. You can get your laptop, and you can
power your laptop while you're walking.
You can bring your work surface up higher or lower depending on what you want to do. So this is designed. It was actually designed so that women in high heels could even do this while they're working, answering emails, answering phone calls. This is kind of a combination of that cubicle kind of feeling that we were talking about earlier, and open office space is just another application that we're seeing more and more of. It's a great space because it's got a lot of flexibility to it. So like we were just saying, we'll take our work with us and move somewhere in the office. This file drawer can be, I can pull it over there and go do my thing. This is also pretty cool, I have to say, snakeskin at the top, and it doubles as seating. So if I'm having a meeting with Rufus, I can pull this out, plop down, and we can work and go. We don't have to have the big formal conference room necessarily that people have typically used, and again, you can save space and improve efficiency. It's all about empowering workers so that they have control over their space and what they're doing. It makes for a more interesting day, a more productive day, and happy employees are productive employees.
You can see the windows throughout the room, which help with daylighting, and they're operable windows, so we can open them up to get some fresh air. There's no HVAC running in the space right now. It's pretty cold outside, and typically at any time of the year you come into the space, it's pretty comfortable. The reason that this space is so comfortable, and even the space that's unoccupied and unventilated upstairs, or not, the HVAC isn't running upstairs, is because of the insulation levels in this building. There's high insulation levels in these walls, R30, and the roof on this building also it's a foam insulated roof that achieves an R30 rating. You see we have some fluorescent lights, and then you can see that square looking light right there, that's actually skylights.
There's a couple reasons we did the roof, the green roof like we did. First off, it's we wanted to kind of block off the air conditioning units, because it's not a very pleasant view to be, if your office is right here, you're looking onto a a blank roof. And second off, it it helps with the heat island effect.
Yeah, so for the heat island effect, we mitigated the heat island effect by having the high SRI roof, the white roof membrane, and this is a foam insulated roof with a high SRI. So the requirement is to achieve an SRI of 78, which basically means the sun infrared rays come down and they bounce off the roof, and the effectiveness of that reflection is called the SRI, or solar reflectiveness index. And we only needed a 78. This roof membrane actually has 107 SRI. The other thing too is we have individual HVAC units for every space,
Every
right?
space, yes. Most of the other office buildings that I take care of, we have big train units that take care of the whole building. Here we were able to break it up individually, so each tenant has their own AC unit that they can control, and how much they want at any time.
So again, a lot of windows for daylighting, operable windows. We also have, you can see the solar carport, which, there's lots of ways to mitigate heat island effect on the ground. One of them is to have landscaping, and we have a lot of landscaping, but the requirement is to mitigate 50% of the heat island effect on the hardscape surfaces. So you can do that with trees. Trees can provide shading and mitigate the heat island effect, so we have a lot of trees. The main strategy is just the bright white concrete that reflects that solar infrared radiation. All the lighting is very efficient, but it's also down lighting. It's not up lighting. It's not projecting up into the sky. Why is that important? Does anybody know? Light pollution, exactly.
When they move in, it's more, you know, I take a hold, make sure they recycle, you know, make sure, you know, all their water fixtures are efficient, any of the toilets that they may install are efficient, and their lighting as well. That's another really big one that we're pushing. Make sure they're getting the correct lighting, the one with the low mercury and you know, the fluorescent bulbs.
So yeah. Don, the thing with LEED for new construction and major renovation is it's a one-time thing, right? When Don gets his certification here in several weeks and hangs it on the wall or the lobby, basically you're done. You know, there's nothing more to do. But you know, you want to continue on with the sustainable efforts and things. Therefore, Don has chosen on other buildings, and he may actually go this route with this building, is to pursue LEED for existing buildings, operations, and maintenance. Where now, you're not only greening the building, but you're continuing the sustainability effort.